Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where we've been working on the launcher for this very heavy payload. And I would like to be able to push this just a little bit further. We need to get like 600 meters per second out of it. We could have a very small amount of extra burn time here by extending this up to be something like 2 meters, like that. I think that's still technically clipped in, but it's probably okay. So we could definitely get a little bit more burn time on that, but our starting thrust to weight is on the low side. So one thing that we could do, we're already blowing past our budget and just saying, you know what, we don't actually care. I just want to get this over with. So that's fine. I think what we can do is we can put in a side interstage here. I mean, maybe a little higher up, around like here. And then we can put in fuel tanks here, and this would be a round of SRBs out here, would be the idea. So these would be relatively small SRBs, because we don't actually need that much extra power, right? A little bit of thrust to weight would be okay. We can put in Ifrits down here, like this. And it would be something like this. I don't know what our staging looks like. This is the Ifrits included here. Okay, so where's the interstages for that? These interstages. Okay, we would need this to be here, and then these would go here in theory. They should burn out a lot more quickly. So 1.82 thrust to weight. This might be too much. We might get heating effects up here. If we do, we can put a fairing back in. It would probably require us backing off a little bit here, but ultimately that may not be a bad idea anyway. Let's take that down to 1.5 and try it something like this. Although I want to check here. Yeah, no fuel in this. So that solid fuel there, that'll be okay. I don't know about burn times. We'll see what that feels like. Let's give this a go. We may or may not need a fairing. Odds are good we'll need a fairing. So let's see what that feels like overall. RCS off. We're going to put this at a 70-degree launch. And then putting this over on the easterly side, somewhere around 60. Okay. And let's go. So thrust to weight is definitely a little higher. That's looking good. And how quickly are we draining this? Yeah, that looks good timing-wise. The question is, does this extra power give us what we need to get this where it needs to go? Obviously, our timing is not going to be correct for this launch yet. This is just to determine the power level. So we're at about a thrust to weight of 2 right now. And I'm keeping an eye on that apoapsis, but I am definitely very concerned about this overheating on ascent. We'll see how that feels. So this is down to about 35% fuel remaining on the SRBs. We are going to see our thrust to weight drop when that goes away. But by how much? 20-kilometer apoapsis, I'm going to keep it at about 70 for right now. Up to about 30 kilometers. I want more vertical speed because I have a heat concern. Okay, let's drop this down to a 45-degree pitch target. And we'll hold here until these SRBs burn off, I think. So far, not too bad on the heating. But it could change. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, SRB detach. Let's take this down to about a 15-degree pitch. We're doing pretty good on the apoapsis. We need a lot more horizontal speed here. I'm looking at our current altitude, and I'm thinking this might be okay without the fairing. Maybe. 36%, and checking this internal fuel is empty here. Hang on. What's happening here? Why is this internal fuel empty? That should not be the case. This is draining incorrectly. Okay, let's pull this back. It's clearly having some fuel flow, but I'm thinking that we are pulling the fuel too quickly. So I think that we need to drop the chamber pressure here down to about about here or so. That'll cut our cost down, but we'll need to keep an eye on that fuel flow. That's going to reduce our thrust to weight as well, which should be okay. But that fuel flow was definitely problematic. Okay, so let's put this at 60. Make sure that our monoprop is off, and let's see what this feels like. Checking in on that fuel flow. This is still draining at a low rate. Okay, well, that may not be a problem when we consider a potential coast phase. We'll see. So let's just hold here for the moment. What I didn't like was the fact that not all of our engines were burning uniformly. That's definitely a problem. So we're still going to be running into a bottleneck on our fuel transfer rate. There's no doubt about that right now. Okay, so let's bring this down to 45 fairly soon, but I liked about where we were on the apoapsis there. So somewhere around 30 to 35 seems okay for dropping this. But I think we can be a little more aggressive after that. So let's drop this down to 40 right now. There we go. How are we doing on SRB fuel? About to burn out, so we'll hold here for the moment. And SRBs are gone. Beautiful. We're at about 50. Noted. We're at about 60. I'm going to drop us down to 15 degrees right now. We're still a little low in the atmosphere. That is noted. And we'll see if this is too much atmospheric speed. It might be. Checking in on the fuel internally here, 47. Okay. Yeah, that's not amazing for sure. Okay, at this point, I want to be burning purely horizontally. And we're going to burn here until the apoapsis is 100. Checking in on this fuel level, 38. Noted. Okay, so I'm going to hold here, and we're at 100 now. Engine shutdown. And now we're going to have this fuel be draining while we're in this coast phase. So hopefully that'll help matters a bit, but this is still not going to be ideal in terms of fuel drain rate. So that is absolutely understood. What do we need to bring this into orbit at this time? The answer is about 1.1 kilometers per second. We've got the DV for that in theory. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and prep for this burn. And let's warp to it. Okay, so we've got 4% fuel remaining out here. This is now 100 here. That looks good. So 3, 2, 1, and side boosters are out of here. Fantastic. Execute the solar panels. So that's definitely not ideal. But it will do the trick. It's even a little overpowered. Okay. Now, obviously, our timing is wrong. We're in a wildly incorrect inclination, right? So that's understood. But this is proof that this design will definitely do what we need it to do. So let's pull this back. And we are going to warp until we are in a correct position for this. So we need to have the Spaceport Esperanza be our target. And we're going to be going northward. So that is understood. I'm going to put this at 70. And we're going to want to be angling northward. So 60, like that. Then we can warp forward until such a time as we are approximately in line with this orbit, which is pretty close here, but we can go a little further forward, about here. May have overshot that slightly, but that's okay. Okay, let's throttle up, and off we go. So this will definitely work, but I'm not hugely enthused about the fuel transfer rates, but it will function. It'll absolutely function. So we'll hold here until the apoapsis is, I think, about 30. I went a little long before. We'll see how 30 feels. No, I'm going to do 35. It's slightly safer. This is a real launch. 35. So we're at 5 kilometers apoapsis right now, and we can have this open to keep an eye on our SRBs. There we go. Looks good. So we're at about an 8 kilometer apoapsis at the moment, and continuing to accelerate on up. Now 10, 12, and time to apoapsis is, of course, increasing. So that's looking great. Very shortly, we're going to be lowering our... We're going to be lowering our heading. We're at 20 right now. And like I said, we're going for 35. Okay, so an apoapsis of 30 kilometers. 32, 33, 34, and 35, dropping us down to a 45-degree pitch. Okay, 3, 2, 1, SRB detachment. Beautiful. At this point, I'm dropping us down to a 15-degree pitch. Our apoapsis is looking pretty decent, and I want to be building up a lot of horizontal speed. The main issue at this point, I don't want to be changing this. The main issue at this point is this fuel flow, right? But all we got to do is get this apoapsis up to about 100 kilometers, and it should, in theory, be fine, as long as we're not too aggressive about it. Which, you never know. We might be too aggressive about it. So we're currently at an 80-kilometer apoapsis. That's looking good. I'm going to drop us down to a 0-degree pitch. Apparently, 1 is the best we can do. That's fine. And it's looking good at this point. So we just got to finish up this burn here up to a 100-kilometer apoapsis. 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and engine shut down. Technically, that's 101, but that is fine. So we're going to plan a burn at the apoapsis. Our fuel is transferring now. And let's... Actually, this is a decent transfer window. It's not perfect. I'll dial that in later on. We'll put this in something like this. This is an okay window. So that's fine. And we're about to exit the atmosphere. And our fuel is, of course, transferring. I'm not sure if we're going to max out that fuel or not. We'll see. Okay, we've got 1% fuel left here, so we're going to have a little bit of a kick there. Okay, there go the side boosters, and that should be fine. So our thrust to weight is 1.75, not bad. Let's go ahead and actuate our solar panels. Looks good. And we've got 1.4 kilometers per second here. Lots of DV here. We've got so much DV. This is looking good. Absolutely wonderful. So yeah, those SRBs definitely gave us the kick we needed. That's absolutely delightful. 300 meters per second to go here. 200. And 10 seconds of burn time left before we have our orbital insertion burn completed. And we're still going to have 800 meters per second on this to work with. That's a lot, actually. Okay, our overall inclination is 27.73. It's not exactly where we want this to be. And this is definitely interesting. If we plan a burn at the ascending node here, we could dial that in to that 30-degree inclination. I'm wondering if we can also combine that with our approach burn. So that would be something kind of like this. Pushing that out. That's pretty good, actually. We might be able to dial that in. Okay, I'm not going to do that now. I think we'll wait on that burn slightly, but this is decent to do. So let's go ahead and execute that. And that will, of course, be our normal burn here. There we go. And that'll be a couple hundred meters per second. Actually, not even a couple hundred. I think that was like 150. Cool. 30.02, close enough. So at this point, we can start thinking about when we would want to do a rendezvous burn, right? So this is a little awkward in terms of timing. We may have missed our window a little bit, but this seems reasonably fine. 35.6 kilometers. Okay, show this encounter info, please. 532 meters. That'll work. Go ahead and do that. Beautiful. So 175 meters per second of separation. This stage may not even be necessary here. Cool. So what did that put us at? 890 meters? Okay, I can work with that. So we'll warp to somewhere around here or so. Our main problem right now is that this is going to be in darkness. I would rather not do this approach in darkness. So there's that. We'll move into target mode, and we're going to do target retrograde for now. We'll turn around too. We're still about 5 minutes away from this, so if we burn now, this is not going to be an ideal time for the burn. I'm going to do a slight corrective burn here, but the primary goal is going to be to move when the approach is to somewhere like up here. So that'll be absolutely fine. We are wildly overshooting this. This poor reaction wheel is not intended to do this. Okay. This poor reaction wheel. We're asking it to do so much. We're in 2x right now, and we're going to need to make sure that we're in position about here or so. Looks good. And now we're just going to gently push this. Now you can see we're pushing this apart right now. This is because we're really too far away to be doing this. But I want to change when this encounter is happening. And we've got plenty of fuel. So for the time being, we're going to do that. Now I'm going to warp in to here. And yeah, you can see this shifted like that, which isn't surprising. So let's go ahead and bring this back down. We need to be changing this number here. But pushing these back together is not a bad thing to do. Okay, so burning somewhere around here as a corrective burn. We're just trying to push this nice and apart. Okay, timing is looking okay. There, this is much better timing. So let's go ahead and warp up to here. And now we're going to be interested in getting actual timing on this. So lock velocity retrograde, and let's warp here for right now. And this is going to be a really awkward angling. Okay. Now I want to burn towards target, because we're going to be a little too far away. So let's go ahead and get around to that. There we go. And we're going to burn roughly towards target here. I want to get this approach much, much closer. In fact, I'm going to want to pull this node up over this way. Okay, something about like that. Now I'm going to want to be back at retrograde, and we're going to warp out over this way. Cool. So we want to push these nodes back together, and we just wanted to change when this encounter was going to end up being. So 42 meters per second here looks good. Now we're getting closer. Just altering our overall positioning here. Okay, something kind of like that. That's 3.15 kilometers. We're too far away now, so I want to warp in a little closer. Somewhere more like, and we should be on velocity retrograde, somewhere more like here. Okay, so now we're going to want to angle this. And actually, we're moving too slow relative to each other at this moment. So we want to be heading towards target. Okay. And I want to push this together a decent amount. So we're going to bring this out over here. about like that. 270 meters looks good. 15 meters per second, not too bad. Let's go ahead and lerp our way on over here. There we go. And we can continue to dial that in if we want to, but I want to warp to about here. There we go. And where is our target currently? About 800 meters away. Looks good. So let's do a gentle burn out over this direction. This is a lot of thrust to weight at this moment, so I move these quite together, and we're now moving at 2 meters per second. So you can see 114 meters. And the question is, where are we going to want to dock this thing? Well, for the time being, we're definitely going to... How much fuel do we have left in this? 262 meters per second? Okay. That's kind of a lot. Noted. Yeah, this is definitely slightly overbuilt, but that's fine. So we can just continue to bring this in. I'm going to warp this around to here. I'm actually going to warp in maybe a little closer than this. We are 160, huh? Okay. I'm going to do a very, very gentle burn out this direction, with the idea being I want to change our vectoring. Okay. There we go. We're going to now move back to retrograde, and I think we're going to have to burn somewhere around here. Yeah, that's definitely going to be the case, with an extremely minute burn. There we go. Something like that. So we're basically not moving relative to the target at this point. I mean, we are moving, but we're very, very slow. So where do we want to dock this? Well, we know that it's a small docking port. So we wouldn't be able to dock it here. This is a Type A docking port. This is a Type C docking port. This here is a Type B docking port. Okay. What can we hook that to, actually? Hang on. What can we hook that to? This is an RF docking port. This is an A. This is a C. This is a C. That's a C. What can we hook this to? Surely there's something. That's a C. That's an A. Can we please be on retrograde? Thanks. Okay, so this is currently a Type C. Can we hook to a Type C with a Type B? I wouldn't think so. That's the RCS nozzle there. Yeah. So I'm seeing Type RF, I'm seeing Type A, and I'm seeing Type B. Cool. I'm also seeing that we are not successfully putting ourselves on retrograde. Okay, let's do a very gentle burn there. This is not exactly done. I think I'm going to jettison this. This is just too much mass. So let's get rid of this here. Okay, there we go. So that's too much mass, but I definitely wanted to do that. So this is a Type B docking port. There's nothing else that we can attach this with, right? So what can we even attach this with? Or where can we even attach this to? Maybe we can attach to a Type C. It seems to be a similar type. So this is a Type C, and this is a Type C. So that's Type C's linked together. Noted. Okay, let me see here. Juno New Origins, Type B docking port. Okay, so docking ports. Yes. That doesn't break it down by types. Okay, we could try just docking it to a Type C. I'm not entirely sure that this will succeed, but we could try it. So if we were to do that, we would want to attach it to, I don't know, maybe like this port here. This is an RF. A Type C port would be like up on this hub up here. There's a Type C port right, like, here-ish, I think. There's one on this side, for sure. So, is there one on this side? Yes. Okay, so if we set that as our target, we could head up towards that. Of course, right now, we've kind of got ourselves in a bit of a pickle. So we'll need to use some monoprop and make our way on out of there. Okay, that is not accelerating us much. Noted. We're going to have to angle ourselves up this way, do a very, very minor burn. Okay. Something like this. Just building up a very small amount of speed. And then angle ourselves back to retrograde to be able to get rid of that speed, is what we're going to have to do here. Why does this think we're 8 meters away? I guess it's within a certain range. Okay, let's make sure that we are in the correct position here. I want to be on retrograde, please. Thank you. Okay, so we're now in theory clear, and we need to get rid of this retrograde momentum, right? So let's just make sure that... Apparently that doesn't work. Interesting. Well, that's fine. We need to head this direction anyway, because we need to get ourselves some verticality here so that we can go for this. Okay, that looks pretty decent there. Let's put ourselves at retrograde. And let's get rid of this momentum. We're overshooting this, of course. Let's bring ourselves back. Okay, there we go. Now I want to point at target, and I want to swap over to this target because I want to change the overall orientation of the station. This is the forward point. Uh-huh. So in that case, I would like the forward point to be a pitch of 0 and the forward point to be at like 180 or so. Something kind of like that. Okay. And then I'd like to burn towards this ever so slightly. So I want to be pointing at target. And I want to head in at something like a small amount of speed. Okay, something kind of like that. Now I'm going to use monoprop to adjust our overall angling here. This really doesn't want to go in the direction I want it to go. So I think we're going to have to bring ourselves a little bit more in terms of speed. Like that. Now we can monoprop over a bit. Like that, approximately. We're going to have to do more monopropping on the way in, but this should, in theory, be fine, assuming that we can dock a Type B docking port to a Type C docking port. I don't know if that's the case, but I've been unable to locate any Type B docking ports on this currently. So there's that. This is a Type C here. As far as I can tell, they're basically all Type Cs. Okay, so we are going to need to do an adjustment here to our velocity. About like that. And we're still heading in very slowly, right? So let's go ahead and 2x it a bit. In fact, let's do this. Okay. Slight adjustment to our trajectory here. RCS off. And it is currently dark, which, you know, I'd hoped to avoid. But let's go ahead and bring this into around 30 meters. So this is about 40 meters, and this is about 30 meters. Now we're going to make an adjustment to our trajectory here using our monoprop. There we go. We're going to use our reaction wheel to counter the spin that monoprop puts on us. But we will see if we're able to get this under... Or rather, if we're able to get this docked. I have no idea if this is going to work. In fact, I'd be a little surprised if it works. So we're about 20 meters away right now and closing in very gently. I'm going to make a quick save here. I don't anticipate significant issues other than it just not docking, but we'll see. I'm going to turn off this because that shouldn't be necessary. And I want to grab this docking port here. There we go. Because I want to keep an eye on its status. Okay, I'm going to make a slight adjustment to our trajectory there. Looks good. Uh-huh. So this is what I was worried about. This is not making any attempt whatsoever to dock. So this is our Type B docking port. This is the Type C docking port here. I don't think that's going to work. We could attempt to pivot over into trying to dock to this Type RF docking port. Maybe that would work. But for now, it's time to put a cut in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, I will try to have an answer to what type of docking port we can dock this to. Surely we can dock this to a docking port here, right? Maybe we'll have to bring up an adapter of some sort. That would be wild. Well, if that's the case, we can do it. It's not the end of the world. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Andy McGar, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.